Everybody wants to make sales and to improve and optimize their marketing with AI. And not a lot of people know how to actually do it. And that's why we have Dan Grech, and he'll talk to you about how to empower your business to thrive with AI. And what's so special about Dan Grech is that he's a Pulitzer Prize-winning former NPR and PBS journalist turned entrepreneur and educator. And he's the founder and CEO of BizHack Academy, which is on a mission to train 1 million businesses to use AI-powered marketing and business storytelling to grow 10x faster. The first question I have is, what's the secret to your success? And does AI marketing and sales have anything to do with that? Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu. Mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services.
Well, Lily, thank you so much for having me. And the secret to my success, I think, is I'm a very good communicator, both written and verbally. And communication is the foundation of building trust relationships. And everything in business, whether you're partners, whether you're hiring, marketing and sales is built on a foundation of trust. Now, AI can really help with that because it can allow you to tell your story and make those connections more effectively, more quickly, at a higher volume. It can also really mess things up if you rely too much on AI or use it badly and you communicate in a robotic way. And so, like everything that we do at BizHack is really teaching businesses how to leverage AI to tell their company's story more effectively and build that human-to-human connection, but leveraging AI as a tool to do it faster, better, and more.
Thank you. What are the top 5 tools that you leverage in order to market your business with AI? And what is the best way to use those tools to get more than average results?
Yeah, so there's just so many technologies out there. What we teach in our courses focuses on ChatGPT and Canva. ChatGPT is amazing for creating marketing and sales content. Now, there are lots of other options out there, like Google's Gemini or Claude by Anthropic. But Perplexity is great for research. But, in the research that we read and track, ChatGPT is probably the most useful platform and the one that we feel is best for business uses. Now, Canva, which started out as kind of a graphic design platform, has also gotten really, really good for generating AI videos and imagery. One of the biggest limitations of ChatGPT and DALL-E and some of the other AI generators is you need to edit the images. A lot of the best AI tools that Canva has are not the tools for generating original images. It's actually for editing images. The sort of things that you would use the Adobe suite if you're a little bit more advanced. So those are our 2 core tools. And then another tool that we love at BizHack, we do a lot of podcasts, a lot of webinars, a lot of master classes. And we know that, social media, short video content is critical. So Munch.ai is a tool that will take a longer form video recording, like the recording of this podcast, and then will suggest to you little 15 to 30 second sound bites that you can then put on to social media. That tool has saved us a ton of time, and we love that one.
Thank you. Now, what I find quite interesting is, for example, I know of quite a few tools that can be used in order to turn a 30-minute video into a 1 or 2 minute potentially viral video. And there are some tools that leverage AI that will also suggest a potentially viral title. But I don't know why my team is not actually using that, because and I do wonder whether that's because it is not really so accurate in terms of the subtitling. Do you find that is a problem for you as well, in terms of the subtitles not being accurate and you having to like work too much in terms of fixing what the actual text was that was said that is kind of synchronized with the subtitle? Or do you find that, it's no big deal if there are some errors in the text, those can be easily fixed, and it's no big deal? You still prefer to use Munch or something similar to optimize the time frame that it would otherwise take to do it manually?
Yeah. So I don't think either is good. Like, I don't think just because the AI output is not usable, you should abandon the tool. But I definitely don't think you ever should use AI generated output without editing it first. So I actually think what you're describing is a problem of expectations of your team and their user error. Either they're not using the right tool or they're not using the tool properly. So what we teach is a principle called human last touch, which is you never, ever publish anything without a human being the last touch on it. And in some cases, it could be a light touch. In other cases, it could be a heavier touch. If there's a lot of work that's required to get something that AI generated for you to be ready and usable, then there might be some opportunities to improve your prompt engineering, to improve the training that you've given to the AI so it creates content that's more aligned with what you want. But again, these are tools, and tools are used by human beings, and human beings do have a responsibility for making sure that what's output is good and useful. I will say that there's a learning curve in how to use these tools. And so, for instance, with Munch AI, it'll suggest in an hour-long video, maybe 30 or 40 videos. We then have a human being go and look at those and identify the ones that are actually most aligned with our content strategy, the ones that are most aligned with kind of the core values of the company, and that's what we'll put out. We won't ever automate that. Now, I know there are a lot of folks out there that are okay with, substandard content, typos, inaccurate information. That for me is a non-negotiable. For our brand, that would never work.
Thank you. What about in terms of like, for example, my partner also has a podcast, and he is wanting to turn, the longer, let's say 1 hour podcast into shorts. And the instructions are, for example, you have to include what the person does, what company they work for, and then, 5 steps to make your first million, because that's what his podcast is about. And kind of trying to figure this out, exactly the part where they said that, it's not so easy. And these tools, I don't think that they actually would know where to actually cut, because they do it in a more automatic way. So I wonder, how would you do this differently in a way that you can still automate and use some of these AI tools and still manage to keep this kind of information that I'm talking about?
Yeah. So, for instance, in that specific example, you as the host, or ideally a producer who's listening in or watching, would identify the points where the good juice is happening. And then you can leverage that tool to kind of take a first pass and find those clips for you. Like, for instance, when I was an NPR journalist, after I would do an interview, I would just take a blank piece of paper and I would write down what were the best moments, and I would zero in on those moments in my editing. And so the human brain is an incredible sorting mechanism. Where it gets slowed down is just the brute force tasks, and that's where AI can help. So for your colleague, I would say he knows as he's doing an interview, those moments that really popped. Make a note for them when they happen in the interview, pass those notes along, and that'll guide his team, when they're selecting those moments.
Thank you. But my question was, is there any way to actually automate that? Because what they're doing currently is they are taking the transcript, and then that way they're able to figure out, where the juicy parts of the interview are. But then is there any way to actually automatically have this cut? Or you still have to do it manually based on needing to have certain information inside the video?
Yeah, it's kind of neither. You can't necessarily automate human judgment about what is the good stuff. But once you've identified where then yes, you can leverage intelligent automation to create content at that moment. So you can tell it, hey, zero in on this section of the video. And some of the better tools also allow you to train them, say, like, next time you do this, make sure to look for these kinds of moments. And ideally, you're in a platform that gives you the ability. One of the reasons I love ChatGPT is the ability to create custom GPTs where you can actually train the brain. Not all AI platforms allow for that, but I would say that when you're getting really deep in to a platform, and you can actually train the platform in what you're looking for, so it gets better at the task as you go. Otherwise, it's a little bit like an employee, in that when they start out, they're kind of dumb at the job, and then over time they get better and better and better. AI should learn as well, but not all platforms give you the ability to train your brain, your AI's brain. ChatGPT is one that does, through the custom GPTs.
Thank you. Tell us some ways that you are successfully leveraging AI for your marketing and sales.
Yeah. Well, it's become essentially part of every aspect of what we do. Studies have shown there are about 20 different ways that small businesses can use AI in their business. 11 of them relate to customer acquisition, marketing, sales, and customer experience. And we're using AI in all parts of that. So let's start with marketing. With marketing, probably one of the use cases is content, right? We know that content is king, video content in particular. So we create tons of email content, blogs, and social media based off of recorded webinars that we either host or that when we're interviewed by a podcast. So that's one broad set, is it can really solve for content creation in a big way and make you much more efficient. And another content creation use case that we love is Canva allows for bulk creation. And so if you integrate like a spreadsheet, you can actually create a month's worth of really high quality social media posts with images in under 2 hours. So that's an example of a use case that we teach in our classes and that people love. Now, on the sales side, for research of prospects, and then the personalization of email outreach, extraordinary. It's also, ChatGPT and other tools are really good for RFPs and to write proposals. I remember the other day I have a trained GPT for proposals. I was able, while my wife was driving and we were stuck in traffic, I was able to create a full proposal and send it using my phone. That would have never been possible, a customized proposal in a matter of minutes. And then finally, in terms of customer experience, the two that we are really loving is chatbots, and also AI voice bots, both for incoming and outbound calls. That kind of receptionist function, where someone will call in and they need to talk to customer service, or they want to talk to sales, or they need to get a piece of information. That there are still people who like using the phone, and to be able to have an AI receptionist be able to direct them to the right place, we found it's way cheaper and actually more effective than using human beings. Like if you outsource this, say, to a call center, they generally get paid by the minute. And so they're actually motivated to keep the person on the phone. And so the calls end up costing you more and don't deliver what the person who's calling is looking for as quickly. So there are tools for every aspect of marketing. There's a tool for that. And so the key is to identify like something narrow in your business that you're trying to get done, and then to go and look around for tools that can accomplish that narrow thing. There are new tools coming out every day. So like if you're a B2B business and you need to create, let's say in the IT services space, and you need to create proposals, you could train a GPT to do that, or you could potentially see if there isn't a AI tool that's built for how to create proposals for IT services companies. And then where we're headed with all of this is the integration of AI into every tool. I mean, we're seeing this already happening with, our standard Word and Office, our Office suite and our Google suite. AI is becoming sort of integrated. So this era where we go to ChatGPT, create content, cut and paste it, and move it is quickly being taken over by where it's integrated into, all of the tools we use. And we're going to see that accelerate.
Thank you. Now, about the bulk create function, that tends to be where you add some, let's say, quotes or whatever from an Excel, and then you can have Canva automatically like bulk create the posts for every single one of those, PDF or quotes or whatever it was. The issue that I saw with that was that all of the posts look kind of like the same. Does that matter at all in terms of reach and in terms of like people liking and sharing and commenting on the post? Or you find that it actually doesn't matter at all, that the posts tend to like look the same?
Yeah, so that's one use case. Like another use case, just to give you some, just to open your mind of what's possible here, is you could actually create like original images inspired by the quotes. So rather than using a templated, quote format, you could incorporate, and that would give a little bit of variety. Other uses that we've used it for, that like we have a graduation celebration after our courses to create the certificates, which used to be this manual process where you have the same certificate design and then you're substituting the name in. That can be incredibly helpful. I could imagine this being used on a personal level for Christmas cards, to personalize Christmas cards. So I would say, the bulk create function can have a lot of different uses. Another one is we would create customized coupons, thank you gifts that our graduates would give to one another. And it cut the time, by 100th in terms of how long it takes to create any sort of repetitive function. It can be really time saving. Now, to directly answer your question, is having the same, template and look like on an Instagram, is that going to help or hurt you? One of the important, like the front page of Instagram is that mosaic of tiles. And you want to really pay attention to how that looks. And so if you want them all to look the same, that's generally not considered a best practice. So you do want to have some variety. So even if you were to use the same quote template, I would definitely intermix it with other types of posts so that there's a little bit more variety.
Thank you. So what would you have to do in order to create this variety of posts that don't actually look all the same?
Yeah. So the instructions are the key to that is the instructions you give around the image creation. So Canva has what's called Magic Studio, which is its AI powered tool set. And if you give it a prompt, it can create an original image associated with that prompt. And so you would give it a prompt based on a piece of content. It could be a quote. It could be a statistic. It could be, a piece of information. And then it'll create an associated image. And it'll do that, basically pulling from a spreadsheet. So you would have text in a spreadsheet. It would then populate the images. And then you have a human being review to make sure the images are appropriate, revise or replace as needed. And then you would have, a couple weeks of content created in a bulk way.
Thank you. Regarding the custom GPTs that can create a proposal. So imagine my book publishing program's proposals tend to be quite long, very tedious to read, and I really hate doing it. So I wonder if, let's say, you were to make a proposal that is, let's say pretty much the same as others, but there are some slight changes in it. How would you give the direction to your custom GPT? Is it that first you would upload the template and then you would mention, for example, replace this thing with this other thing, and then remove all of this paragraph about this and this, and that's how you kind of like instantly receive your new proposal with the changed terms, and you just kind of like revise it, and if it's all okay, then you kind of make small changes and you just send it? Is that how it works?
Not the way that I'm doing it. And, there are, there was a term that we used to call mail merge. And mail merge is, you have this database of names and email addresses, and then you have this template of letters, and you would merge them. That's a little bit closer to what I do. Is I leverage a software called make.com, which is intelligent automation. And I input into make.com the parameters like you were describing, and it uses a combination of just old-fashioned mail merge and then AI. So there's parts of my large parts of my proposals that are completely templated. And you don't want to actually, like contract terms or payment details, that those are going to be the same across. Where you really want to customize is in the cover letter, and then sort of the product mix is going to be, and the pricing is going to be changed. And so that's how we do it. Is we leverage AI, for instance, to draft the cover letter. Give them input about who the person is, what they care about. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually just cut and paste the notes from the sales conversation, specifically around what their pain points are and what they're looking to solve for. And that will become the cover letter. And then from there, getting that product mix exactly right and the pricing exactly right. Sometimes that's AI, and sometimes that's just old-fashioned, like select, delete, and that's the way we do it.
Thank you. So in order to get these pain points and summaries of what conversation you had with your client, for example, do you use like fireflies.ai or something similar that takes a note of your Zoom conversation, and then you paste some of those things manually into this custom GPT, in order to kind of create this entire automation? Or do you use a different process?
Yeah. So because of my background in journalism, I often take notes myself. And so I'd say about half the time I will just use my notes because I am taking down just the most important stuff. You can also build an automation where it will pull from the transcript that is AI generated, and you can use make.com for this. And the one little hack that I would say is when you're in the interview with your potential client, you should just really signpost or use language to indicate that this is the section where we're going to talk about your pain points. So let's say I'm, interviewing you, Lily, to create a proposal. I'd say, okay, Lily, let's now talk about your pain points and what are the sort of unmet needs that you're trying to solve for. Right. And so just by saying that, it like indicates to the AI, okay, the next section is that, and then you train the AI that writes the letter to pull from the section of the transcript where we discuss our pain points and incorporate them into a letter. So you have to be very intentional, and kind of, otherwise the AI might make mistakes.
Thank you. How do you use AI? Because you mentioned earlier about using AI to do inbound or outbound calls. So how does that work in terms of leveraging AI as a virtual receptionist instead of you? How do you set this up?
Yeah. So we have a sales handbook that we give to new salespeople that we've built out over many years. And we essentially have a system for training human beings to do our sales for us. That is exactly how we are training the AI. We are uploading the sales handbook into AI, and then we're giving it additional parameters around what it can and can't say. Because sometimes here's just sort of, there's this phenomenon that we call hallucination. And hallucination is AI making stuff up. And the reason that AI makes stuff up is because it wants to be helpful. And if it doesn't know the answer to something, rather than saying, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer, it will just make stuff up instead. That can be disastrous in a sales setting. So you have to give it really clear guardrails. Guardrails you would never need to give to a human being because a human being knows better. But these AIs they want to be helpful. And sometimes the way they're helpful is they make stuff up, they lie, they tell things that are inaccurate. And so you have to be really careful about like the training that you give to set guardrails. And then you upload essentially the same training materials that you would use to train a salesperson. about who's your ideal persona, how do you respond to objections, and so forth.
Thank you. So how do you set this up in terms of like making it happen? Like, where do you go to kind of set this up?
So the tool that I use is called Go High Level. And I work with a vendor called AI Magic Voice, and I send them PDFs of my sales playbook, and they then create a AI voice assistant who we then test extensively and further refine and train.
Wow.
And this is an outbound approach, and then you would use a similar approach for any inbound calls. So like the receptionist. So this is more of like a salesperson, and the other one is a receptionist.
Wow. Do you use the same approach for written text? Because, for example, I don't allow anyone to like just randomly call me for anything unless we have.
Yeah, so the same approach would be used in in like a chatbot that would be like, how can I help you? That little thing in the corner of many websites. It's the exact same. It might even be the same training material. In fact, it might even be the same AI that's doing it voice and text.
Okay, give us some examples of like parameters or guardrails of what you would tell the AI in terms of don't say this, don't say that, so they don't mess up the sales conversations with your potential clients.
Yeah, so the short answer is there's some obvious stuff and then there's some surprising stuff. And the obvious stuff, I'll share with you in a sec. The less obvious stuff you kind of figure out as you go. So testing is really, really important, as is monitoring. You don't want to just have this AI out there saying stuff and not have a monitoring. So for instance, every AI call that we do, first of all, we extensively test the voice bot, and then automatically, part of the make.com automation is a Slack message with the transcript and a summary of the outcomes. And that will be sent to a salesperson or a customer service person, depending on which way we want to route the call. And sometimes we'll see weird, and the human being reviews all of that. And sometimes we'll see some weird stuff, and we'll listen to the transcript to the actual call, and we'll see that something went awry. And then we'll update the training of the system to account for that. The sorts of things that you definitely, anything that's, it probably doesn't have access to private information or personally identifiable information, PII, but certainly that. You might want to put some guardrails around what it can say around pricing. So for instance, you would train it, instead of saying, hey, how much does this cost? You could say, that's a great question. Let me get you in touch with a salesperson who can answer that for you, versus, oh, it costs $1,000. So you kind of train it on how to handle the most common questions. And then in, cases of anything that's outside of, you could say like, any questions that are not directly related to, these products, just say, thank you for that question. Unfortunately, I'm not able to answer that. Another really common question is, are you a human being? And every company has its own point of view about this. I am a big advocate for transparency, because I think it's just creepy, honestly. So if they ask you, are you a human being? You should train it to say, no, I'm not. I'm an AI assistant. But if you'd like to speak to a human being, I can definitely arrange for that. Now, as a AI-powered marketing training company, it being an AI bot and sounding really good and doing a really good job is an incredible selling point for our training. So we're highly transparent. We're like, hey, I am an AI bot from BizHack. If you're interested in learning how to do this for your own business, you should, contact us and we can tell you more. But, some of my clients are, like a pest control company, and they're not as upfront about the fact that it's an AI. They just make sure that it's trained, if it's ever asked if it's an AI, to answer honestly.
Thank you. What was the most impactful AI tool or technique that you have used that has led to surprisingly great results for you or some of your clients?
Yeah. So we've talked about a few, and I'll just run through those, and then I'll talk about the one that's been the most personally impactful for me. So absolutely recommend the AI receptionist. Even a year ago, it wouldn't have been possible. Now it's so good, and it'll do a better job than your receptionist at a fraction of the cost. The kind of killer app that we've developed is creating a custom GPT for your brand voice. So your brand has a certain tone and style of communications. You, as the CEO or founder, have a certain tone or style of your communications. Identify what that tone or style is, train a GPT in it, and have everybody on your team creating communications using that. If you have an executive assistant, they're drafting emails using that tone of voice. And the hack is a lot of us are bad at writing. So if you're trying to train a custom GPT in your brand voice and you don't have a good sample of writing, you can either model someone who you admire, or an even better approach is take a transcript of your spoken communications and ask it to describe your tone and style from that. So with one of the CEOs I worked with, he was interviewed for a podcast. We took the transcript of that podcast, described his tone and style from that, and then used that for his written communications. And he absolutely loved it. Now, on a personal, and then, the bulk creation that we talked about, of creating bulk content for social media, incredibly powerful. And then the using recorded webinars or podcast interviews for a stream of social, email, and blog content. All these are all killer apps. Now, on a personal level, I'm a writer. I'm writing a book. I have a publisher. And the thing that always just defeated me in writing was the blank page, that blinking cursor, and how do you get started? And what AI has really done for me, which has been transformational, is I will like describe what I want to say. I will describe, I will cut and paste notes that I've taken. I will incorporate research I've done, and then I will ask it to give me a first draft of a book chapter or a section of the book. And it does a great job with that. And then the hard work happens where I'll then edit every word to make sure that it's concise and aligned with my voice. And that it's much, much less time consuming and energy consuming to edit something rather than to draft it. So I love using it as a writing partner to help me get that first draft out of the way.
Thank you. Have you used AI sales agents? And if yes, how do you set this up?
Yeah, I haven't used AI sales agents. We tend to focus more on the marketing side of things, which is kind of one-to-many communications. The closest thing we've used to a sales agent is that somebody expresses interest in a product or service. We'll follow up with an automated phone call to then evaluate if they're a qualified lead and then get them in touch with a human being. So that is a sales agent. It's kind of a tip of the spear sales agent. And the technique for building that is identical to the one for the receptionist.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can find you.
So BizHack Academy on social media, at BizHack Academy on YouTube. We have tons of free training videos there. BizHack.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter and you'll get a free AI prompt guide. And then we offer training and consulting services. So if you want to learn how to do this yourself, we have micro courses and longer courses. If you're interested in having someone do this for you, we offer consulting services to help you build out your AI marketing team.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness,